2. I'm live now? What's up, everybody? It's me, the King Cadogal, Josh Adam Meyers, recording the 500 live from the world-famous Comedy Store. Thank you for everybody tuning in. If you are lucky enough to come to the Comedy Store right now, you can stare at us through the window. If not, you have to watch it at home. Be safe, wash your hands, do all that stuff. If you don't know what the show is, if you're tuning in for the first time, basically I am going through Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums, and we are at 409. We're skipping ahead by about 2 episodes. So if you're watching this now, we're a little ahead. Either way, doesn't make a difference because the guest that I have today is one of my favorite people that I've ever met. I think he's one of the funniest comedians working. Some of you know him by Harland Williams, but I want to bring him up as the one and only Mr. Ernie Pumpernickel, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Harland Williams, bow, 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 now. Harland Williams.
Wait, shouldn't you sing Ernie Pumpernickel?
Ernie Pumpernickel, 1 for the nickel, 2 for the pumpkin.
Uh-oh, I got no sound in my cans.
We got no sound in the cans?
Oh, my God, I'm so scared.
Can you hear me?
No. But isn't it funny I answered you anyhow?
We're right next to each other.
Oh, that's
why. It's so great, too, because I was
wait,
like...
they're giving me other cans.
What-
Save it so I can hear you. I want to hear what you say to me.
Take your time with them.
Oh,
We're not live to thousands of people.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now I got you, bud.
Yeah. What were we talking about prior to that?
You said my name's Ernie Pumpernickel.
Harland Williams is a great name, but you should have a different name, like a Billy Toledo or like Fran Tarkenton, who was actually a quarterback for the Washington Redskins.
Oh, I thought that was the nanny.
It could be,
Isn't Fran Tark? Didn't she have a show called
that's Fran Drescher.
Oh,
Same thing.
did she play football?
I think
though?
she did. Yeah, she
Then
was
I'll take
outside
that.
linebacker.
Can I be
yeah.
Fran Drescher then?
You have a Fran Drescher feel.
Yeah.
This is what's so great
Yeah.
about because first of all, this is the first podcast I have taped live with an actual human being next to me since COVID dropped March 12th.
I know, and what's so cool is we measured it, and we look like we're really close, but we're exactly to the inch, like 6 feet
We
apart.
are 6 feet. I'd say we're 6 feet and 3 centimeters.
Yeah, like if I lean this way, like even I'm
don't.
gonna get a
I'm
violation.
gonna mask up, dude. I can't. I gotta let the goatee
Yeah.
shine, bro.
It
You like
looks
this?
Great. It looks great.
I'm going for a swashbuckler look.
I love it. Some people go with like salt and pepper, but you look like you've got the full
I'm
7
full
herbs
salt,
and
dude.
spices. Like you look like that. I think there's even a piece of KFC in the beard right now. That's probably
You
why.
want a potato skin?
Whoa,
Thank you.
Dahmer.
All right, so you know what's so great about this is that like because I was trying to figure out a record to get you on, and in that kitchen, do you remember this? You did my show in the main room,
Mhm.
and I was like, dude, we got to get you a record. You looked at the list, you saw the Doors, you went, I can do that, and that's all you had to tell me because I knew right away.
Yeah.
I was like, you have a connection to this band.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me about your journey with the Doors.
Well, it started when I was a kid. Okay. When
How old?
I was probably about 9 years old,
Okay.
and I grew up in Canada. And the day school ended, me and my 4 sisters and my mother would go up north of Toronto to a little cottage. We had a little cottage that was really small. It was a rectangle with 3 bedrooms on one side and a kitchen.
I
and
love how
living
you're
room.
trying to downplay that you were rich because
No.
you're like, we had a cottage, it had 4
No,
rooms.
I'm
it
telling
was
you.
tiny.
This cottage. The guys from Deliverance would have said, "No, we're gonna sleep
We're good.
outside." Yeah, I'm telling you, it was a shack, but we loved it, right? And,
Yeah.
and so there was a little town near us that sold dew worms for fishing and like ice cream sandwiches and jawbreakers.
Okay.
Like it was one of those little towns,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so every summer they had a strawberry festival, right?
As they do.
Yeah, these little towns
You
have
have-
strawberry festivals.
You have to honor strawberries once a year,
Yeah.
or the Mayan gods will kill
Yeah,
us.
exactly. So we go to the strawberry festival, and it's me and my 4 sisters, and they have a fish pond. Where that thing where you stick the fishing line in, and then the people who run it stick a prize on the
Yeah,
end of
yeah,
it, and
yeah.
you pull it up, right? So I don't know if this little strawberry festival had a deal with Elektra Records back in the early 70s.
Possible.
Like this town had about like 120 people, right? But every time I pulled up the damn fishing line, and I did it about 15 times because it was free,
Yeah.
I got a Doors 45. Like they had an Electra Doors 45 with the paper still on it, right?
It's like, grab us another Morrison hotel. This guy's winning.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And so
So how many did you get? You said you played 15 times. You got 15 45?
15 45s, but it was the same one. It was the Doors 45, and on one side I don't remember, but on the other side it was Wild Child, right?
Okay.
That song Wild Child, and I had 4 sisters, and so I loved to tease them. So Jim Morrison gave me license to tease them because one of the lines in Wild Child, he goes, "Yuck your face," right?
Yeah.
And then he amps it up. He goes, "Yuck your face, yuck your face." So when I got home, we had a little record player, and I would play it in front of my sisters, and I had license to.
You broke the code, dude.
Dude,
you cracked it.
I just kept saying "yuck your face" to my sisters, and they were getting real. My mom was like, "Stop doing that," and I said, "I'm just singing along to the record."
It's the
Mom.
song, Mom.
It's the Strawberry Festival.
Your
fish
breath
song.
stank. Well,
Yeah.
that was cut out, but that was one of the
Yeah.
original lyrics.
Yeah, so that was my first exposure to the Doors. I got licensed to like abuse, like tease my sisters. So
Fuck
thank
yeah,
you,
dude.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you,
Yeah.
man, Zarek. So wait, so that's 9 years old. So you start listening to the song. Like
Yeah.
how connected were you and how did it go from there?
It was weird because I knew, like, I listened to the Beatles and all the pop radio, like AM radio, and I realized that even at that age, his lyrics were really kind of different. Like at the end of Wild Child, he goes, "Do you remember when we were in Africa?" Like he just kind of says it at the end. Do you know that?
Yeah.
And it's like so weird. I went, this guy's different. And who sings about "yuck your face"? Like I just knew he was different, and they sounded different. You know, you had the organ
Sure.
going, and just his voice. He'd go from really mellow to like "yuck, yuck," like screaming, and so I just knew. I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know, but I just knew that there was something different than all the other sounds I had heard at that early age. So that
Yeah.
was my first taste of the Doors.
Sure. And so
Yeah.
how did that evolve then?
Well, it evolved. I guess what happened next is I went on in life, and I remember
As we do.
as we do, and I remember the next kind of exposure to the Doors. I'd heard their songs by then, like a lot of the like "Light My Fire" and a lot of the commercial ones.
Yeah.
And I was on a long train ride. I was on this I think it was a 8-hour train ride from Toronto to northern Canada. I used to work in the wilderness when I was younger. And I remember I was coming home on this train, and for some reason there was a school, like a teacher was moving like a bunch of, I guess it was camp, it was a kid's camp or something. And one of the kids had a cassette tape recorder, and he just kept playing the Doors songs, and I was digging it. And then all of a sudden the teacher grabbed and he shut it off, and he goes, "We can only take so much of a squeaky 60s organ." And that line always stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of sort of turned me off of the Doors a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, but then I went to college.
Yeah, there it is. Pots in the room. Maybe you're experimenting. There's sex.
Wrong. You're wrong on all 3.
Really?
I was in the library.
Okay.
I was in the library, and I'd never really seen Jim Morrison. Like, I'd seen pictures, but I'd never seen him, like, video of him, right?
Yeah.
And so they had this, the library used to be up for reference. They had these documentaries, and they weren't even on VHS or CD back then. They were these round things. You'd put them in a machine, and you'd hit it, and it would spin. Like, it was 70s, like AV equipment that I don't even think anyone kept.
Microfiche. Remember microfiche?
Yeah, it was something like that. Like I'm like solving a crime on Unsolved Mysteries.
Who
or
are you,
something.
Perry Mason? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to listen to this album.
Right. So I start watching this thing, and they're showing like the history of rock and roll, and this little Richard and the Beatles and all that. And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, this is cool." And all of a sudden, Jim Morrison came on. It was an interview, like tight shot, and he's just like, "Yeah, man." And it was one of those things, you ever connect with something in your life, and you just go, "Whoa, that's me."
Yeah.
like it's almost like I was looking in his eyes, and believe me, I'm not anywhere near Jim Morrison, but something inside me, I just went, holy, like it was like a slam, like it was like a ghost passing through
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
And obviously I'm not him in any way, but I connected with him somehow. I'd never seen him, but he just like knocked me over, and he was just talking about random stuff, obviously, but. And so then I was locked in, and then I started reading, Nobody Here Gets Out Alive, and then I fell in even deeper, and then, I grew my hair long, and I used to go to these retro music nights and listen to the Doors and get up on stage and dance around like Jim, and I just loved it. I loved how poetic he was and how different he was from a lot of the music. I felt like his music came from a real sincere
Oh yeah.
poetic place as opposed to sitting down and being commercial about it and stuff.
So what about this record in particular? What about Strange Days? Tell me about your first experience with that.
I think it was when the music's over, and I just loved how the song started, like so slowly and just kind of creeped up on you. And it was kind of like Wild Child, where it built up to a point where he's like screaming, and then some of the lyrics are just so poetic. And when I first stumbled on it, it was one of those songs where we all have those songs where you just play it over
Oh,
and
yeah.
over and over. Like I must have played it for a year, like nonstop, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And one of my favorite Doors lines is I'll try and sing it, but
No, please.
it just, I don't know why, it just resonates with me. It goes, before I sink into the deep sleep, I want to hear the scream of the butterfly. I just love the idea of a guy like, before he dies, he wants to hear a butterfly scream.
I mean, who doesn't though, dude?
I
Have
know.
you? I've heard it all the time. My neighbor's got butterflies, and
Wow.
they're just
Well,
just all
Can you
day long,
imagine?
dude.
They're like the softest, like most silent.
Gentle.
They don't even like birds when they fly. That they make noise with their wings.
Yeah.
Butterflies are just they're silent,
Elegant.
elegant. They don't even think they weigh anything. Like
They weigh
everything weighs something. I think,
-5 sub-zero pounds.
and just the fact, like mixing the concept of death, which to most of us is probably sort of horrific, and then this kind of genteel creature that's just kind of floats around in life, and the idea of it screaming, I don't know, just for him to think of stuff like that was almost like sexy to me, like I found it very like just powerful and sexy
Oh,
and cool.
1,000,000%
Yeah.
that Jim Morrison and the Doors and the lyrics and the music and everything about this band is sexy.
Yeah.
And it's not, if you never saw what they looked
Yeah.
like you'd still listen to this music and know that it's so sex
Yeah.
charged and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
smart and so like for me, I just can't believe, like, I heard how great his lyrics were. I heard about how great this dude was as a stage performer and how he controlled the audience. But it's like, to really dive in and read the lyrics on this
Yeah.
record is like mind-boggling. Plus, I just came off, the last record we did was Bob Dylan, Time Out of Mind.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've had Dylan and Jim Morrison back to back, who
Good Lord.
in my opinion, and probably most people's opinions, are probably the two greatest lyricists. And I mean, Dylan is one way,
Yeah.
but Jim Morrison, like, I really don't think that he's like pretentious, or I don't think he's just trying to be this like, sub-intellectual guy. Like, that's who he is. Like,
Yeah.
he is a poet, and it shows. So I mean, when you were 9, you didn't really understand how
No.
you just heard Yuck Face, and you were like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that's my shit.
Yeah, but like I said, I also realized he was set apart from other artists I was
Yeah.
listening to. I could sense there was an edge, and like I said, when he started to scream, I was like, this isn't the Beatles anymore. This is a guy like who screams and gets angry and sings and gets angry. I'm a kid. Isn't this a kid album? I got it in a fish pond. Like there's a man screaming and yelling, and he sounds like, and it was really cool. And then even when the music's over, like even as I got older, just to to have a guy, again, these guys broke in the 60s, so they were ahead of the curve, but to have a guy even then singing about the music being over, when the music's over, it was just such a, obviously, I think he meant life, but the fact that he called it music and just, I don't know, that he was thinking about the end of time and death and stuff like that. It's like, it was just like, I don't know, it was heavy and intelligent and it just kind of drew you in,
Oh, this record couldn't have come on the list at a perfect time for me.
Yeah.
I mean, and nothing against Bob Dylan or Clapton or anything that we've done, but this was like to be able to like really dive into this, it's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Now I understand why Jim Morrison's like that iconic picture of him like with the fucking sex eyes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I get it
The
all
Jesus picture.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sign me up for that religion. Can I can I convert to Morrisonism or whatever it is?
Yeah, what's his lyric?
Cancel your subscription to the resurrection. All right, do you want to dive into the record?
Yeah, please.
All right, let's dive
do
into it, okay?
Please, this is
All right,
fun.
because there's so many great songs on this album. All right, so first it opens up. Hi, people out there.
We got some people.
There's about 1,000 people. None of them are
I
socially
know, but I like
distanced.
those two the best.
Yeah,
Out of all the people in the crowd, those two are she's the most beautiful. He's the most handsome. I mean, they're the best. I'm not even looking at
They're
the
like a
rest.
younger, like Woody Allen and Sun Yi.
Yeah.
They got that vibe. All right.
Yeah. Go for it.
Strange Days.
Yeah.
And also what a perfect record to break down, because that is the most apt title of a record and it hits so perfectly right now.
Yeah.
So Strange Days is the opening song. The first thing that I noticed is how different and darker this was from the debut, because I went back and listened to that. And then this song was also probably one of the earliest songs to use the Moog synthesizer.
Wow.
So here, I'm going to play probably my
please.
favorite moment on the
Yes.
entire record. Peter, play 46 seconds in, bro.
We shall go flying
Here it is. Gang, 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 gang. All right, kill it. That organ right
Yeah,
there, that
yeah.
is one of my favorite things I've ever heard in my life.
You know-
Gang,
you know-
gang, gang,
you know
gang.
what I s-
Join me.
You know what I say about that organ?
What do
I
you
can
say?
only take so much of a squeaky 60s organ, bro.
Oh, come on. You're not a teacher.
Remember? That's
I
what
remember,
he said.
that's what he
No,
said.
But that's what he was probably referring to.
You
But
know-
that sounds great.
And that statement,
yeah.
yuck face.
Yuck his face, bro.
Gang, 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 gang,
gang.
All right, so this was written amongst many others on this album before their debut. Really cool fact I found about this: in 2012, the 3 remaining Doors went into the studio with rapper Tech-9 to record a reworking of this, including Jim's vocals, that was titled Strange 13. Do you know who Tech-9 is?
No. Sounds like
Tech-
a fishing lure.
it's,
I think I caught a smallmouth bass in Lake Okeechobee on one of those.
they 100%. It's because that's where he got the name from. But
Oh.
he's a part of the Insane Clown Posse crew.
Oh, I
So
did a movie for them.
Did you really?
I was in the Insane Clown Posse movie.
How long
Big-
ago?
Big
and
Money
why haven't I
Hustlers.
seen? Really?
Yeah.
What do you play?
I play Officer Harry Cox.
Oh, I see that.
I came up with the line, honk if you love sugar.
I just like your name,
That's what she said.
Harry Cox.
Harry Cox. Yeah, that
Did
was,
you write that, or did
No,
they?
that was the character, yeah.
Because you would have been like, dude, I'm Harry Focaccia bread. or something.
Hello.
So, all right. So, what I want to ask you, because this is called Strange Days, tell me about the strangest day in your life.
The strangest day in my life?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. You know I'm Harland Williams,
I know
right?
that.
I've
That's
got
why I know
like
I'm gonna-
about a million strange days.
Give me the tip top.
Wow. I think one of the strangest days I had, it's a bit of probably about a 3-minute story, but is that too long?
Go ahead, bro.
One of the strangest days I had, I was working for the police in Toronto, and every day I had to drive down to the commissioner's office at police headquarters and deliver stuff.
Oh,
to him.
for a second I thought you were working for like the band, the police.
No, for the police for real.
Okay, you're working for the police.
And it was an interesting relationship I had with them. One day I had to wear a police issue shirt, and
Okay.
one day I was over at a buddy's house. He had a silk screening industry, and he silk screened the picture of Jack Nicholson as he's coming through the door in The Shining, saying "Here's Johnny" on the back of my shirt, and I wore it into the police commissioner's office, and my boss almost got fired for it, but. I'm straying. So I was driving home one day and I was going through this horrible breakup with my college sweetheart. We were on and off again for 5 years. And I was at this point where I was thinking of getting into stand-up comedy, but I was also thinking, do I want a life with her? I got a secure job with the police. I got this. Anyways, I was so kind of mixed up on what to do. I started praying. I go, God, please give me the answer. Help me. What do I do? Do I follow my dream? Do I move to Hollywood? Do I stay with her? And for the first time on my run, I drove past my building on the way home, and I went up the road about 3 or 4 miles to this burger joint called the Fire Pit. And, you know, the logo was like flames and all this and that. And I walked in, there was no one there. I ordered a burger. I sat down. It was one of those bench things. You know, I have a bench, a table, and then on the other side, I sit down. I'm just about to bite in my burger. I'm looking down at my burger, and I feel someone slide in the bench across from me. And
Who is it?
I'm like, what the fuck? So I look up, and it's this lady, probably about 40 years old, gray hair. I look up. I look right into her eyes because we're this close. I look right into her eyes. Her eyes are a color I've never seen in my life. They were like a charcoal gray. And I looked in her eyes, and I just felt the hairs on my butt. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
terrified. I'm
Sure.
a horror guy. It's like a thermometer. The fear just went like that. First thing in my head, I went, oh, my God, she's dead. Like I thought I was looking at a dead. Those eyes were dead.
Sure.
And I couldn't speak. I was filled with terror instantly. I said, oh, my God. She's dead. And then she looked at me and she goes, I died 12 days ago. And I wanted to scream. I was so terrified. I couldn't talk. And I just sat there and I grabbed the table and she started talking. She told me, she goes, I'm a diabetic. I was dead for 12 minutes. I went to this place. I saw a man with a flowing cape and a flowing beard, and he talked to me. And she started talking about like being with God. And I just let her talk. Suddenly I went from being like terrified to totally like.
Can you pass me the mustard?
No, it's like it totally flipped. It went from being terrified to I was drawn into her.
Oh my God, charcoal eyes. Yeah, I'd be drawn into that too.
And I was like,
dead person.
I didn't want her to stop. I felt like I was with another entity. And I never said a word. And she talked for about, I don't know, 7 minutes. She got up, stood at the table, looked down at me and said, find the right girl. And she walked away. And I just sat in the chair.
Are you serious?
This is a real story, dude.
Because I've heard some Wangzukis from you before.
No,
and-
this is 100%. You asked me for one of my
No,
weirdest
that's
stories.
dude. You were talking about the hair stuck up on your skin.
Yeah.
Like my hairs are sticking
Right now?
Oh my!
Just
feel,
hearing it?
Feel. I know you don't like
Well,
you-
COVID.
All right.
Can I get a picture of them?
Yeah,
Or,
I'll send it to you.
or can maybe cut a few off and send them later and I'll touch them. Oh, it's like Horton Hears a Who. Except Horton Hears an Angel.
Put it in the third pocket.
Oh,
Lock it.
lock
Dig
it.
it a hole. Put it in the
Fuck
socket. And rock it.
I saw a T-shirt once that said, Horton Hears a Who, and then you saw the little thing in his head, and there was a voice coming out that said, hey, Horton, fuck off. But anyways, this was the weirdest, like, scariest thing, and I don't know if she was an angel. I don't know if it was the devil.
She might not even been there, dude.
You know what? I thought that. So when she left, she went out the side door. I got up and ran to the door after like 40 seconds, and I thought, I bet she's not there. And I ran, and I hate to wreck, but I saw her walking down the street. But part of me goes, because it was the fire pit. I go, was that a demon? Was that like at first I thought she was a demon because of the eyes, and I thought and the first thing out of her mouth, I'm dead. But then by the end, I couldn't get enough of her. Like it was like
She was
joy.
like Tony Robbins.
It was
like you were just
joy.
drawn in.
I was drawn. Like I didn't want her
Oh,
to
wow.
leave. I did. Like I've never experienced that in my life. And then the fact I went there because I was tormented and I had prayed to God to give me a message about this girl. And the last words, she just looked. She goes, "Find the right girl." It
And
blew
that's what
my
you were
mind.
thinking about.
That's why I went
Oh,
there.
my-
That's why I went there.
Oh,
I
my
never
God.
drove that route. And that one day I drove there, and I went there because I was distraught and I was praying and I needed a place to think. And this stranger like sat. It was bizarre. So that's one of the strange things.
So let me ask you this then. Thinking about something like that to happen to you, this whole completely like metaphysical thing.
Yeah.
When you listen to this song, what kind of emotions does it bring up? Does it make you feel like do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this song basically is like the blanket. As she's leaving, it should have been like gang 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 gang, and you're just like eating your friend gang 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 gang.
My burger was cold.
Oh
it was
my
sitting
God,
there
you
for
can't eat that.
No, you know what it makes me think of? I think it's because I'm so enamored with Jim. Most of his songs, I fall into the lyrics, but because this lyric is Strange Days, I always just think about I don't interpret the lyrics, but I always just think about Jim and his strange days. Like how he was such an eclectic guy and an artist and I thought every day he must wake up and it's strange the way people react to him and his thought process, like doing acid in the desert.
Yeah.
And so whenever I hear it, I always just think of him. I don't think of me or other people. I always think Jim probably wrote Strange Days because every day was probably so strange to him.
That was perfect. That was
Yeah.
perfect. All right, let's move on to the second track. Your Lost Little Girl. What I love about this song is that, in my opinion, this is Jim Morrison at his most Sinatra. Like this is Sinatra
Okay, yeah.
Morrison. Peter, play a little bit. I mean, this is like this is crooner, dude. He's a
It's-
crooner. It's his little Jimmy croon shoes.
It is, but I have one crooner, my favorite crooner part. I have a lyric. I can sing it again if you want.
Please.
Like, you're right. This is a great crooner, but there's one crooner moment he does that's kind of like the butterfly line.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I'll be honest, I've sung it. Like, we've all been out on that date with that beautiful girl where it's going
Speak for
perfect.
yourself, bro.
Oh, you don't date
I
girls?
only date threes, bro.
Oh, dude.
I don't get above fives.
Oh.
I'm single, people.
You
How
know,
is it? Do I know I look like the bad guy from Princess Bride, but
do you ever date actresses? Like, because I know this Cloris Leachman. Have you heard of her?
dude, I would date Cloris Leachman.
Yeah, I'm friends with her.
Are you
Would Are
serious?
you down?
I mean, was she like 80, 84?
I think
82?
87. But she's an actress.
She's an
Actresses are
Oscar-winning actress.
hot. Actresses are hot.
They're hot.
Do you want her? I mean, I can hook you up.
I'd go out on a date with Cloris Leachman.
Okay.
If if you're not lying, and
If you don't mind like I met her on Tinder about 2 months ago, and we did a thing, and we did
okay.
something behind Carney's and stuff, but I'm done with
I'd
her.
go Eskimo
So
with you, bro.
are you okay with seconds?
Dude, can we
senior seconds?
Can we dig up Madeline Kahn, because I'd go on a date with her too.
Really?
Oh my god,
Wow.
dude, those are two of the funniest women alive.
Oh, okay. Well,
And I'm attracted to that. I'm
Oh,
not
you
just
are?
attracted to looks. I'm attracted to
So you're the type
personality,
of
too.
guy when a girl's orgasming, you like to hear a joke as opposed to a moan? Like instead of, you like to hear, knock, knock.
Dude, that's what I was about to say.
You were?
I swear
See
to
how we're
God.
the same?
We are in each
Family.
other's
Oh,
heads
oh,
and
family.
family. All right, so wait, tell me.
Okay, so
sing the lyric.
my favorite crooner lyric, and so you're on this date with a beautiful girl, and you're doing a little drinking, and you get closer and closer, and you have that beautiful kiss with her, and it's one of it's not just a cheap date, it's one of those ones where you're feeling magic, you're feeling
Yeah,
that
dude.
poetry like Morrison sings about. And so whenever it got to that point, I probably only did this to about 3 or 4 girls, but I'd get right up in their ear, and if it was the right vibe, I'd croon the Morrison, my favorite lyric. Before you slip into Unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss.
Ooh, I'm getting hot and bothered.
Another burning chance at bliss. Another kiss. That's my favorite.
Dude,
So romantic.
you love singing The Doors.
Yeah.
Because I heard
Yuck your
from one
face.
of my.
Yeah.
Did you just say yuck
no,
your
no,
face
I was
to
thinking
me?
to my sister. I
Okay,
was to my
okay.
sister because she listens to this show.
Well, we're homies with the same dude, Mikey Rosenbaum.
yeah,
Little
Mikey,
Rosie,
yeah.
and he told us an amazing story about you guys at Burning Man crooning
Oh, geez.
a Doors song to each other the whole time. So I want you to take us on that trip with you.
It might have been that. It might have been that. Well, the problem with me and Rosie is we love the 80s.
Oh, he loves
So
the 80s, yeah.
we sang not just the Doors, but everything. But it might have been that song.
So wait, give me the situation. What are you guys all hopped up on ketamine,
Well, what is ketamine
cat
again?
tranquilizer? I can't believe you don't know about ketamine.
I don't know about. I'm not a cat person. Cloris has cats.
I'm a dog person, and I still did ketamine.
What? I'm a THC guy. I do the big stuff. I do horse tranquilizer, angel dust.
That's horse tranquilizer and cat
I
tranquilizer.
said
are very-
did. Now I'm
Did.
into rhino. Have you ever heard of a rhinoceros? You should see the shit they put those down with.
And
bro.
you're taking that?
Oh, dude, I'm on it right now. You
Really?
think I could sing Morrison without it?
You gotta get comfortable, dude. I
Fucking
get it. There's a
yuck
lot of
your
people here.
face.
Yuck your face.
That was to my sister,
yeah,
not
but
you.
I was saying it to you because
Oh,
I just felt it in that moment.
wow! It's
Dude,
like,
that
you're-
was-
like Morrison's channeling you.
Dude, it's like slicing like a fresh rye bread right now. We're
Oh,
just getting down to the nitty gritty. So tell me, so
I
you guys,
swear,
because
but-
because I remember you. I ran into you. I thought you. I
I
you,
swear by the mist in Stevie Nicks underpants.
Ooh,
What-
that's a good
What
one.
are you about to say?
Well, no, because you're like a Burning Man dude, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I was
so,
supposed
like,
to go this year and they canceled it.
Do you hear what's going on?
No.
COVID.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know about that, right?
COVID man.
COVID man. He's the worst
Yeah.
superhero of
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah.
You know, like I hate the Ebola kid.
Oh.
He's the worst.
What about SARS McGinty?
Oh.
He wasn't even a superhero. He was just an Irish guy.
Well, you know, Gingivitis Smith.
Oh God!
Yeah,
Isn't he
he's-
cousins with halitosis Steve?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, they stink.
They stink.
But if you go fishing with them, it neutralizes, and then there's no smell at all.
Yeah, you use the Tech 9
Bingo, baby.
to
Bingo.
catch,
Bring
to catch
it
the.
back.
See what I did?
Oh, yuck
Wait,
your
so what
face.
do you yuck your face?
Yuck your
so,
face.
so tell me, like, what are you guys doing? Are you just in like loincloths?
You want to
got, like,
actually?
face
This
painting?
is from Burning Man.
That's
this-
definitely a
this is
Burning
from
Man
Burning
shirt.
Man. But no, we would run around in, we'd have costumes, we'd put makeup on our face, we wore crazy hats, sombreros. I had a a ventriloquist doll with me named Little Coco. I mean, we just you do everything there. It's crazy. It's like living in a dream at Burning Man. So we were running around. We were singing, Morrison. We were singing 80s songs. We were singing.
Take me home tonight.
Yeah.
I don't wanna let you go, but
be my little baby.
be my little baby. Big ups, Ronnie
Be my
Spector.
baby.
Ronnie Spector follows me on Twitter, by the
No
way.
way.
Yep. You know who else does?
Cloris Leachman? Who?
Fuck you. That was the riff. That was what I was gonna say.
We're doing-
I was
oh,
gonna say
shit.
Cloris Leachman.
I'm sorry.
It's all good, dude. You're a genius.
Oh God.
So you're in loincloths. You're singing the
We're
Doors.
running around
Yeah.
and we're just like having a blast, man. You've never been, have you?
I haven't, but I've been to a bunch of raves, so it's
This
very
is-
similar. It's like
I don't
like a
know.
raves for 40-year-olds
I
and
don't
above,
know.
right?
No. There's everyone's at Burning Man. Yeah, it's
I'll go. I'll go.
Oh,
I'll
you'd
go
love it.
because now what I've decided because of COVID and listening to records like this,
yeah.
you got to take life
Gotta
by
live.
the loins, and you got to go. You know what? As soon as this shit's over, like I'm going out. I'm doing everything. I'm gonna
Yeah.
skydive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Six Flags.
Six Flags. Yeah.
That's it. That's all I came up with so far.
You ever done Denny's like after midnight? Do that. Try that.
I'll
Well, if
do
you're gonna
that.
do the other two,
Yeah, I know.
why not
but,
make
you
a
know.
3-pack out of it?
It's just, you ever been to a Denny's late at night?
That's why I'm recommending it. You said you wanted to live again.
You know who's at Denny's late at night?
Oh, here we
Lost
go.
Little Girls.
Oh, great segue.
You see what I
Yuck
did
your
there?
Fucking
Yuck
face.
your fucking face. All right, now we've come to probably one of the more iconic Doors songs, "Love Me Two Times." This is also my favorite version of Jim Morrison.
Oh, how come?
Well, we're going to hear it. We'll
Okay,
play it, and then we'll
great,
talk
great,
about it.
okay.
Peter, play a little bit.
Love me 2 times, I'm gone away. Love me 2 times, babe. Love me twice today. Love me 2 times, babe.
All right, kill it. I love screaming, singing Jim.
Yeah.
I love scream singing Jim, which sounds like a name that you would make up.
It is.
Oh, you
it
mean
is.
scream singing Jim?
It's also a fishing lure in Minnesota.
That's what I heard.
Um,
This is one of my favorite songs.
You're going to like my story about this one, but you go.
Well, I was going to say an edited version of this was the second single. It was mainly written by guitarist Robbie Krieger. Also, I got to give a shout out before we get to that story.
Yeah.
Play a little bit of the harpsichord solo by Manzarek.
Nice. Picture Amadeus playing this with his wig, his powdered wig.
Dude, kill it. You know how bad? If
Did I just wreck it?
No,
Oh,
no, because
shit, you look
I was
mad.
feeling it. No,
Oh.
people always say like what concert you'd want to go to. If anybody, alive or dead, you can go to any concert, and everybody's like, I want to see Bob Marley in Jamaica, or I want to see Pink Floyd. When The Wall came out, whatever it is. And I'm like, fuck that, dude. I want to see Mozart,
Oh, wow.
like dropping a symphony, like Beethoven.
Right.
What would it? To go see Beethoven's ninth?
Wow. His 9th concert ever?
Well, no, his ninth symphony. You've heard of that, right?
Yeah. Da-na-na-na.
Yeah, and how dope would that be
Dun-dun.
to see that live?
Okay. I think if I had a time machine, though, I'd rather see dinosaurs.
All right, dude.
Did they wear wigs?
I think so.
The Wigosaurus?
Wigosaurus?
But can I tell you the story
Tell
about
me the
this
story.
song?
No, go ahead, please.
Love Me 2 times. So, as you know, I became a huge Doors fan as time went on. I moved to Los Angeles, okay?
Okay.
And I'm here, and I don't really know anyone yet. I'm the new kid in town, as the Eagles once sang, right? And I made the acquaintance of this beautiful girl, kind of a hippie-ish kind of girl. I was doing a stand-up show, and she introduced herself. We started, like, kind of hanging out. She knew I loved the Doors. So she goes, let's go on a date on, Saturday night. I say, great, man. So here we are in Los Angeles. She goes, let's go over to Pink Dot on Sunset Boulevard and pick up, like, some beers, right? That's a little, it's like a 7-Eleven, but it's very L.A. It's
like
right down the
it's
street.
right down the street from here.
Yeah, Pink Dot. It's kind of famous here in L.A.
Yeah.
So we go to Pink Dot, pick up, like, a 12-pack of Frosties. And I go, where are we going? She goes, you'll see. And she knew I liked the Doors. So we drive up the road. We get up Laurel Canyon. She like parks her car, and we get out in front of this like house that's kind of like kind of abandoned. Like there's no windows in it and everything. It's like it's just drywall and the studs in the house and everything, and it's open so you can walk up into it. So she grabs the beers and she grabs a ghetto blaster out of her car and some candles and some incense.
Ooh, I love this girl.
And I go, yeah, she was great. And I go, where the hell are we going? We go up into this place. We go into this empty, abandoned house. And I start looking at the drywall, and people have written and painted all over it, "The Lizard King Lives," and lyrics from his songs and all this stuff. And I go, where are we? She goes, this is Jim Morrison's house. And I'm like, get out of here. So here we are. This was before they boarded it all up, before somebody bought it. So here we are, my first date in L.A. I'm in Jim Morrison's house on Love Street on Laurel Canyon. You know that song, I Live on Love Street? It's a real street here in Los Angeles. So his house was on Love Street. He named it Love Street.
Yeah.
And so here I am in this house, in Morrison's house, with this beautiful girl. We're playing this song and others, and she pulls out the beers, turns on the doors in the ghetto blaster, lights the candles, lights the incense. We're slowly getting drunk. We
Yeah.
start making out.
Yeah.
And it was just magic, dude. It was just, and you know, I told you about kind of that connection I had with the Doors.
Yeah.
And so here I am in this guy's house where all the ghosts of him are. You know, if you watch the Doors movie by Oliver Stone,
yeah.
there's all those scenes where they had the Thanksgiving dinners and everything. That was in that house. And so it was just so cool. And then about a year after, somebody bought the house. They boarded it all up. They redid the house. It's still there.
It's still there, right?
It's still there,
yeah,
but
you can't. That's like got to be like a landmark almost.
right. And now they just last year put a placard up, a historical placard that says "This is Love Street." It's not officially, but Jim Morrison's song "Love Street" is "This is the Street." So there's a little street that runs parallel to Laurel Canyon it's about probably 3/4 of a mile long.
Yeah.
And that's where the house is, right at the top of Love Street.
Oh, that's so
And so that
cool.
little strip, he called that Love Street.
Dude, what a
that wild?
cool like experience. No wonder you're doing this record, dude.
Yeah.
You've got so many great stories.
Yeah.
Yuck your face.
Yuck, your twat.
Ooh.
What? That's the X-rated version. Sorry, I didn't mean it.
Hippie girl going to Pink Dot. Yuck your face.
Yuck, your twat.
Yuck your face. All right. All right. Next song, Unhappy Girl. This is probably the most 60s sounding song ever. Peter, play the song. All right, kill it. Doesn't it have kind of like that, like incense, peppermints, ripples in time?
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. That's one of those ones that always fell between the cracks for me. It felt a little bit too like soft. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. In my opinion, I'm not, because I don't want to shit on Horse Latitudes either, because that's Jim at the most Jim.
Yeah.
But Unhappy Girl is like, I don't think it really fits with the vibe of this record to
Yeah.
open with Strange Days.
Yeah.
You know, to do Love Me Two Times and then to come to this. It's just like what I said. It sounds like a lot of the other shit
Yeah.
that was coming out probably around that time.
Yeah.
There is a little factoid about it.
Ooh.
This song continues the story of the estranged lover from their songs Your Lost Little Girl and Love Me Two Times. So this completes the unofficial Sad and Estranged Girl trilogy on the record. And what's funny is I didn't even realize that there was like a theme
Yeah, right.
until Morty wrote that.
Yeah, I
because-
didn't either.
Thank you,
I'm-
Morty.
I'm learning.
Ray Manzarek recorded some piano on the reversed tape so it would play backwards. Did I make
Whoa.
sense when I said that? Ray Manzarek recorded some piano on the reversed tape so it would play backwards.
Oh, I think if you say that backwards, I'll get it.
Backwards play would it? So tape reversed the on piano some recorded Manzarek Ray.
Are you fucking serious,
Dead
bro?
serious, bro.
Whoa, that's so cool. I never would have known that. You think?
what I think?
No, you think.
Oh, welcome.
For doing it backwards.
Come well.
Yeah, I do some.
Your. Come well, your.
That's what she said she does.
So this is
Yeah.
freaking me out, dude.
Oh, dude.
This is freaking me out.
your face, bro.
Yuck your face, bruh. When did a girl first make you cry? Let's talk about lonely people.
Oh, damn, that's a good question. When did a girl first make me cry? Damn.
Yuck your face.
Oh, it might have been, yuck my face. I might have been when I was in high school. I fell in love with this girl in my class, a Japanese girl who would sit beside me in class. And when she first sat beside me, I was like, hey, whatever. Hey, how you doing? And then every class, every time we had the class, I'd feel more and more like butterflies when she'd come in and sit beside me. And I realized, oh my God, I don't know what love is, but I think this is it.
This is it, yeah.
And so I think I got so like emotional about her that I think I cried a few times because I loved her
But she didn't love you?
and I couldn't tell her.
Why couldn't you tell her?
because we were friends and we were all in the group together, and then it was driving me nuts. Like, I'm an artist, so I started drawing her, and I started writing poetry about her, and I couldn't stop thinking about her. And one day I just said to her, I
She
said,
said,
"Hey,
yuck your face. And what did she
yuck
say?
to say?" She said, "Will you marry me?" No. I said, can we like go for a drive together? I got to tell you something, you know? So she said, yeah. So we just drove like out into the country at night, and I found an
Yeah.
old church, like an old country church. I remember I said, I'm just going to stop here. We sat on the steps and we talked, and I said, I just got to tell you, like, I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what you, and I'd never told a girl I loved her before. And I just said, I got to tell, I love you, you know?
And what did she say?
And she was just quiet for a minute. She goes, that is so nice. That's so sweet. She goes, I don't feel the same, but you know what? I was so happy. I said
That you
to her,
said it and you got it out.
I said
Yeah.
it to her. I said, just, you know, I'm bummed that you don't feel the same way, but you have no idea. I'm so happy right now. I want to climb a tree and scream because I've got it out. It's not torturing me anymore. And it's in the universe, and it's like, at least it's out in the world now. So, but I think there were a few nights where I cried, or because I was just so emotional about her. Like, I loved her.
Dude, love's a heavy thing, dude.
It's heavy, especially when you're young and you don't understand it yet. It's
God, dude,
weird.
I've got like I've got like cigarette burns on my arms because I used to put out cigarettes because when I was so in love with girls and they didn't want to be with me, I'd just get drunk and be like, I just want to feel something. It's not a lot. You can see.
Yeah.
There's one there. See that,
Yeah.
dude? I covered it up with a dog paw.
Oh,
Dude, but it's
wow.
just like that's the whole thing about being young and then
Yeah.
being old and the way love changes. Because when you're younger, it hurts and you never feel like you're gonna come out of it. So
Yeah.
you cry and you
Yeah,
just become
yeah.
emotional. You do poetry, you do all this stuff that you did, that Jim did. But when you get older, you're just like, "Pff, you don't want to date me? Yuck your face. I don't
Yeah,
give a
right.
shit."
Now you cry because you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, it's like, please, dear
no, that
God.
sounded bitter, but no, it's true. Like there's something so beautiful about that young love, and I think that's what was cool about Morrison too. Like, appreciating him during my adolescence, because he was an artist that got below the layers, and you could interpret the lyrics, and they were poetic and they moved you, and that's why I liked singing that line in that girl's ears, because it was just deep.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like the do run run to do run run. It was
Yeah.
like, before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kid. Like, it was very.
I want to
romantic.
find out. I'm going to do some live research. Morty's the writer's in the room.
Oh,
Morty,
Morty.
come pop up here for a second.
Pop and
This is
drop.
going to make him so happy right now.
Uh-oh.
He's-
Uh-oh.
He's feeling it. You got mask up.
Roy
Was
Orbison.
there music like this deep out in the 60s? At the time, yeah. Like, was this the deepest shit out there?
I mean, you know, there were a lot of people were finding themselves. It was an explorative time and for educating themselves with poetry and everything, and a lot of floral dialogue. And the hippies were flowers and stuff. But I mean, there was a darkness to the Doors that, you know, while you had all these like, and we're gonna, you know,
I don't know if anybody's hearing this right now.
But you know, the come on, the people now, smile on your.
Yeah, this is deeper than any fucking thing. Because then it gets, guys, big round of applause for Morty, everybody. Fucking killing it. Because I don't know this shit. All right, and then because this is how deep it is. He comes back with the next track, Horse Latitudes, which is some of the strangest shit out there. Even the name, Horse Latitudes,
yeah.
sounds like something you'd make up. You know
Well,
what I mean?
it is a fishing lure.
Like-
I caught a
No,
northern
it's-
pike on it once in Alberta. Well, okay.
All
You're
right.
not gonna.
Peter, play
block me.
50 seconds in Horse Latitudes.
Awkward instant, and the first animal is jettison. Legs furiously pumping, their stiff green gallop, and heads bob up.
All right, that's all I need to hear. This is, in my opinion, this is just Jim tripping balls, pushing the limits,
Yeah.
influenced by the out there tactics of the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper. I feel like something like this is like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can dig that.
The coolest shit about this is Jim keeps getting more intense as the song goes on. Cool fact, this was a poem he wrote in high school after seeing a book with sailors throwing horses off a ship to lighten the load and conserve food and water.
Wow. Or, if you're trying to be positive, it was sailors throwing horses off of ships to feed the starving sharks.
I can see that. Yeah.
But you know what I
all
love
perspective.
about what I love about it is that, you know, I don't know if anybody presented poetry in the way Jim did. Like most people, most poetry was probably presented in coffee houses at poetry readings.
Yeah.
The tree whiffed in the wind and the child smelled like onion buns, you know. But Morrison was screaming it. He was raging it. He was yelling it. He was like screaming it to the gods. Like that clip you just played. He's like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
like,
very Clash of the Titans. Like he's out
Yeah.
on like an Olympus rock, and he's just
Yeah,
like,
there's just-
Zeus, you father have forsaken.
yeah, it's like he was like ramming. You know, it's probably like the Beatles, and then came Anthrax. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like that screaming heavy metal. That's what Jim was to poetry back then, and it was just there was such a rawness to it, and that's what I loved, the way he attacked poetry. You know, but the lines, regardless, were some of them were heavy, but some of them were flowery. But he would still like. Kind of, you know,
Oh.
the child's fragile eggshell mind. You
But
know,
also he's got the wind sounds, and if you
Yeah.
put wind sound on anything, it
anything.
takes the intensity level up to like 45.
Oh
dude.
God, have you ever done poetry while you're doing a Dutch oven? It's just the
Tell me about it.
no, it's just the wind sounds are unbelievable.
That's what I've heard.
Anyways, but I just that was another thing that was very novel, and I think new about
Yeah.
Jim and the Doors. I don't think people were pushing lyrics. But I would challenge you to say that lyrics are different than poetry, even though they can interconnect.
Sure.
I think a poem is structurally, and the intent of a poem is different than a song lyric. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I feel like Jim was the first guy to maybe breach that and somehow splice the two together in a way.
Yeah.
But then marry that with, like, instead of reading a poem softly and gently, he was injecting all this rage and passion, and it was just so cool.
I would put Jim like poet first, then in a band second. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I watched this documentary on him, and that's like all he cared about. And he tried to leave the band just to be, you know, that girl Pamela kept like, you know, pressuring him to. She's like,
Yeah.
it makes you happy to be a poet, then just be a poet.
You know, that's the only time where I worry about, and I hate to use the word pretentious with Jim, but there's times where I go, you know, he just wanted to be a poet, but yet he dove so deeply into this rock and roll lifestyle. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, you know, don't kind of make it seem like you're above being a rock star because you wanted to be a poet. Like, you did both, dude. You are both.
Yeah.
Like don't try to escape one, because your songs are your poetry too. And by the way, your songs are going to be remembered for eternity. Your poems aren't. I
Well,
hate to say it.
No,
you know?
and I completely agree. But I mean, there's some people that just don't want the fame.
I don't believe it though. That's where I don't believe it. I just feel like, you know, why would you even start singing? Why would you jump around in leather pants and do all the performance? If you
Yeah.
didn't want the fame, you'd just go out like Adele, stand there with a hot dog, sing some lyrics, and go back to the green room and slap an old lady in the ovaries.
That's a good
Or
point.
whatever she does. What does she do? Are you an Adele fan?
Huge fan.
Is that what she does? Or I don't know.
She goes out first thing she says is, "Yuck your face, everyone."
Oh, yeah, your face.
Yuck your face.
Oh, yuck your face,
It's so
eh?
good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Would you grab my Tech 9?
Would you get me said, oh, yuck your face, you twat,
Light
yeah.
some candles.
Fucking minging there. Fuck your fan, yuck
Now
your
I'm going to
face,
do a
eh?
poem. Cue the wind noise, please.
Oh, it's a Dutch shoving in there. It's
Shove
a
it.
fucking-
Shove it
Oh,
in
we
there.
got Indian curry Dutch shoving there. Fucking yuck your face, you
Yuck,
twat.
yuck your face.
fucking
You
twat.
fucking face.
Fucking twat.
Moonlight Drive. This is one of my
Just the
favorite.
title. Just the
It's-
title.
Yeah, dude.
And
the-
what a fishing lure.
And this is not only great.
I use it at night.
This is great because it's got more of the scream singing, and I
Yeah.
love the scream singing. Peter, play the third verse for me. Here it is. This is so good. Kill it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it when he amplifies that. Even in the poem, it's just like Jim Morrison's voice is at its best when he's screaming. There's
Yeah.
the passion, like
Yeah.
you feel it. So there's a cool fact about this song is this was Jim Morrison's sort of audition for Manzarek. So in '65, Ray saw his friend and fellow UCLA friend. Let me take that whole thing again.
Yeah.
So in 1965, they're in Venice Beach, and he asked what he was up to, and Jim said he was writing songs in his mind. And when Ray asked him to sing one, he sang an early version of this, which made Ray say, we're going to start a band and make $1 million."
Yeah, and in the movie The Doors, I think Oliver Stone had it where Ray just looks at him and goes, "Those are great fucking lyrics, man.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
Those
Should
are
I?
great fucking lyrics, Morrison."
And then he goes,
And that's that moment where they go, "Let's start." Yeah. Oh,
he
you
goes,
got to
"Listen,"
see it.
He's
It's a
like,
great
"Listen,
band.
I got this great idea for a fishing lure business."
Oh,
He's like, "Forget your lyrics."
yeah.
He's like,
That's
"This
let's-
yuck your face bullshit."
yeah.
like,
let's
we
go
cut
get
that
a, let's
out,
go
dude.
get a trout.
So I wanted to ask you, because being that this song was basically his audition, when did you first know comedy was the life for you?
It was when I was a kid. It's weird. I always kind of feel weird saying this, but to me, comedy wasn't like a decision or a progression. To me, it was like a weird calling. It was inside of me, and I
We-
knew at an early age that I was going to do it. Like I was going to do something in the entertainment industry, and I knew I was able to come up with comedy that was different than other guys' comedy, and I knew my sense of timing was pretty good even as a kid. So I didn't even know that comedy was a thing. Like I was too young, but something inside me was like, "You're going to do this," you know?
Did you get like big laughs in class?
Yeah, I'd get I do like plays, and I do, I wasn't the class clown. It was interesting. I'd be the guy. I'd kind of wait for the class clown to do his thing.
Yeah.
And then he'd do his thing, get a huge laugh, and then I called myself the class sniper because he'd do the kind of obvious hammy joke,
yeah.
and then I'd come in behind with the clever joke that no one else could ever think of, and fucking hammer like bury the big laugh he got, and that's when the wheels started going. Man, maybe I got something. I don't know. I just felt like there was something in me that was gonna happen.
When give me the moment that you realized that this is a profession that you could really make money off of.
It's gonna be ridiculous, but there was a movie back in the 70s called Have You Checked the Children? It was a horror movie.
Okay.
And I was in grade 11 or 12, and I was part of a whole group of kids, everyone thought it was hilarious and funny. And this movie came out as a horror movie, and we all went. I think about 12 of us went to this movie theater, and it was packed. It was like sold out from top to bottom, and we all kind of sat in a little group together. And here's this horror movie, like really tense, really scary. And going back to my sense of timing, I waited for the perfect moment to yell out things really loud in the movie.
Yeah.
And instead of people getting mad and saying, people go, "Shut the fuck," they think you're annoying, you're not. But these add-ons were so perfect. They were dropped and they were so the right line.
Yeah.
That every time I did it, the whole theater just started howling. Like, I don't know how many people were in there, 250 people or whatever a theater holds. And my friends were dying, and even as the movie was going on, I was just dropping these bombs. I probably did about 6 or 7 of
Oh,
them.
wow.
It's not like I was doing them every 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but I did every one of them just blew. And in my head, like, I already knew I was kind of funny, but to hear a room full of strangers who couldn't even see me or know what I looked like, and to feel the energy and the power that I just got that whole room to laugh in unison at the same moment,
Yeah.
I was like, that felt like an energy, a power, and it brought into fruition that feeling that I already had, that I was, and it was kind of like the forces combined. I went, wow, this isn't just a smart ass kid like yelling out and being an annoying jerk. Like, these all fit, these all worked, and the crowd loved it, even though it was a horror movie.
They're like, "Are you going to be at the 3:30
yeah.
showing of this? Because
yeah.
you were great."
I know, but that was weird. Like I said, they didn't even know what I looked like because it was dark, right? So
Yeah.
so I thought, geez, imagine if I could get in front of a crowd and be
do that same
expressive,
shit,
and
yeah.
they see my face, and I actually have a routine, and so I think that's what kind of that was my first shot of being live in front of a.
How fast? Like, how much time was between you doing the movie to
Yeah.
actually getting on stage to do stand-up comedy?
Oh, this was late. Like I went to college. Well, I
Oh,
went.
you waited.
Oh yeah, I waited because I wasn't exactly sure what when I say I knew there was something here, I didn't realize it was stand up. I just knew.
Okay.
I went, oh, something's here. I have timing. I have comedy. I can create the right words that work. I didn't really necessarily think it was stand up. And then as I went through college and this and that, and then I started to go, I know I'm supposed to do entertainment, but what can I do where I travel? I can make lots of money. This thing will spring off into other things. Like I always thought stand-up could go into music and commercials and voiceovers and movies and television and so all those things would come off of stand-up. And so that was finally the decision I made, and it was thankfully the right one, but
Yuck your face, dude.
yuck your face.
Yuck your face.
Yuck your
People are strange.
Yeah.
When I said that's the other song was more iconic, no, this one is. Play the opening.
Yeah, this one is.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're
Let's let it kick in.
Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out.
Kill it. All I can think of when I hear this is the movie Lost Boys.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
all I can think
Right.
of, dude.
Huh.
It's just, and that's what, the funniest shit about that is Echo and the Bunnymen covered this for the Lost Boys soundtrack. It was produced by Ray Manzarek, who also played on the track. And if everybody remembers the great scene from Lost Boys where the vampire's cave contained a huge poster of Jim Morrison in his Jesus pose.
Yeah, awesome.
Just a little connection. So this was the first single from the album. Jim was in a deep depression, so Robbie and John took him for a walk to the top of Laurel Canyon to watch the sunrise. After encountering other people, Jim put the words together for this by the time they got back. So this was
Wow.
written like,
That was written on Laurel Canyon where his house is.
yeah.
That's the house where I.
So they got back to the house, and Harland Williams was in there with a
was-
hippie woman,
Yeah.
listening to music,
I was in-
burning incense.
I was in Jim's bed. He just climbed in with us.
he's a good snuggler.
Yeah.
He's squiggly, but
Oh yeah.
You know what I
He's-
mean?
Yeah. God.
so tell me your relationship with the song. Do you like the song? Like
I like this song, and I like it because I've had different incarnations where I've misinterpreted it. Like there's times where I go, Jim thinks everyone else is strange, or Jim's strange and he feels alienated, right? Because there's that line where he goes, "When you're strange," he refers to it. When you're strange, no one remembers your name, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I feel like he's talking about himself being strange, which he kind of was regarded by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then I also feel because he kind of walked in his own aura that maybe he thought everyone else was strange. But one of my favorite lines that I kind of didn't understand till I got older was the line you played, women seem wicked when you're alone. And it just,
What do you think that means?
well, I just thought that it meant that, it was kind of the first rub up I had, about the concept of women being like evil. Like as a kid, I knew, they said Eve was evil because she took the apple. But as I told you earlier, I grew up with four sisters who are like probably the most level-headed women I've met to this day in my life. So I thought all women were just completely normal and level-headed and
Yeah.
even-keeled. And I'm not saying, and I realize men and women, as you get older, you meet people who have emotional issues and are dramatic and can be vindictive or this or that. And so it was kind of through this song where I started to get a little suspicious of women.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, like, wait, why would women be wicked? That's a strong word.
That is
like,
a very strong word.
and so that was my first inkling that, and I'm not broad stroking all women because we can all be wicked, but that was my first inkling that, wait, I grew up around women, they're perfect, but wait, they could be wicked. And so that was kind of my first little hint that a woman could be just as wicked as anyone else.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Jim knew. I
Yeah.
think Jim's including himself in
I
the
think so.
strange
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I think he completely believes that he's strange.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I wanted to ask you this because I found this out that you were a forest ranger
Yeah.
in Ontario for 5 years.
Yeah.
So what was the strangest shit people would do up there or that you saw up there?
It was probably something I did. I used to be I was a foreman up there. I ran a lumber camp. I was one of the foremen, and I had to handle I had 2 bunkhouses full of guys, and there's probably about, I don't know, 40 people I had to handle.
Yeah.
And I remember one night, I'm trying to put the pieces together, but yeah, I remember one night there was this one guy who was a bit of a tough guy, a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a smart ass, and he would lip off and stuff. And I was the foreman, so I had to kind of deal with all these personalities. And I knew this guy wasn't really going to comply to the whole, let's sit down, let's talk, let's dial it back a bit.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get a little funky on this guy's ass. And, we used to have to take all the garbage up to the dump, and there were bears there, and there were hunters up there. So one year, every hunting season, the Ministry of Natural Resources up there, they would make the hunters hand in the heads of the deer and the moose they shot, so that
Okay.
they could do research on parasites, and they can
Science.
they can determine
Science
an
shit.
animal's age by the rings in its teeth, and they'd snap a tooth in half, all kinds of stuff. And so one day I went up to the dump, and there was probably about 70 severed, decapitated deer and moose heads in the garbage dump. And there was this beautiful deer with this great big rack, and I grabbed it, and I walked
Oh, rack is this.
the antlers.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah,
you meant
the
like
head- the
this,
head
this
still- the
deer had great
Yeah.
tits.
So that these heads were intact because they would the hunters would bring
Sure.
them, they'd refrigerate them, and so they weren't decayed, they weren't decomposed.
Fresh deer heads.
Right. So I saw this beautiful rack of antlers sitting in this pile of heads, and I waded in about knee deep in deer and moose heads. I grabbed this fucking thing by the antlers. I
Yeah.
threw it in the back of my truck. And then that night I thought, I'm going to scare the living shit out of this guy. This is how I'll get him.
Yes.
And we, as part of our cutting stuff, we had chainsaws and axes and everything, but we also had, sometimes we'd get into places where we had fields or long grass. So we had basically pictured death, the scythe that
Yeah.
death carries around, that really long blade, like that big blade that you ever see a picture of death with the black.
Oh yeah,
paper,
yeah, yeah.
and
With
he's-
the
the
sickle.
the sickle. So we had a whole bunch of those. So what I did is, it got late, and I could hear this guy talking away, keeping the other guys up. I went over at night, and so what I did is I went in, I opened the door, and I tossed the fucking deer head down the hall. And I snuck and I watched through the corner. I saw the guys slowly come out of their bedrooms because they heard something smashing down the hall, and they saw this fucking thing, and these grown guys, they started screaming. They ran into their rooms, and then this guy was ranting. So I was outside. I had a one-piece, my long johns, okay?
You probably looked adorable.
Full-body
Yeah,
long
dude.
johns.
You
But
look at Ebenezer Scrooge.
right, but what I did is I took my pillow slip, and I put little holes in it, and I painted like Spider-Man eyes, right?
Yeah.
So it looked really ominous, and I put it over my head, and I went smashing in the room with the sickle, with this fucking thing on my face, and I ran into his room, and I'll never forget, he was sitting in his bed about to light a cigarette, and you weren't supposed to smoke in bed, and I kicked his door open, and I just swung the sickle right in front of his face and buried the tip of the blade in the wall right beside his bed, and he just screamed like a girl.
Yeah, dude, that's the scariest shit.
I scared and he was. They all saw it, and that was it. He was done.
Is attempted murder a crime in Canada? Because you could have been charged with that.
Probably, but I scared that they did not see that coming, and so he behaved himself after that. It's scared. So that was very strange.
You could have just cited him.
I could have, but this was a lot more fun. Trust me.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. The next two songs, not really. They're probably not my favorites on this album. So we got "My Eyes Have Seen You."
Oh yeah.
You like that one?
That one I don't know if I remember as much.
Peter, play
Maybe
a little bit of "My Eyes Have Seen You."
I'll know it when I hear it, but. Yeah, that one's.
See, this part's dope. Like, that's on time. Kill it. That's on time. That's on time.
You know, it's funny. I was washing my car on the weekend out by the garage, and I had an old CD player, and I had this album on, and I was listening while I was watching. And of course, in my head, I'm thinking, man, they don't make music like this anymore. Everything's like techno and this and that.
Yeah.
And then as I'm saying that in my head, my CD must have had a scratch, so it started going. It started like repeating, like I was at a rave, right? And suddenly I was listening to the Doors, like 2010 style. It was hilarious. So that,
yeah. Good song. Same with the next one. Do you remember "I Can't See Your Face in My Mind"?
I don't.
The opening is the only thing that really sticks out to me. Here, play the opening. All right. Nothing special. Good songs.
It's kind of haunting, but it doesn't. It's not one of those ones that I think most people. There's probably some guy or girl listening right now are like, dude, are you kidding? That's my jam. That's the one where me and my girlfriend. Someone always has something for something, right?
Oh, dude, I can never win on this.
Yeah,
if I try to skip over songs because we spent too much time on another one,
Yeah.
like I have people like, you're not giving the album the justice it deserves.
I know.
I'm like,
so to whoever's out there and that's your song, we love it,
love
but
you.
it just for whatever reason it didn't resonate with me and you that
because
much.
we have to get to the final song on the
Oh,
record
yes.
because this shit is
Yes.
a Wang Zuki. When the music's over,
Ugh.
this to me is quintessential Doors.
Yeah.
Poetry, musically, the slow, the hard, all of it.
Yeah.
And this is where I feel the Doors are at their best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It also has the best scream on the entire
Yeah.
record. Peter, play it.
We want the world and we want it. We want the world and we want it. Now.
So good.
So good. This has kind of the here, kill it. This is kind of the end vibes.
Oh yeah, these two songs you could almost splice them together, and that scream is probably that and Roger Daltrey from "Won't Get Fooled Again." Those are probably the two best screams in rock and roll.
Fuck, I wish we had that scream right now.
You know that "Won't Get Fooled Again," same
Oh,
as
yeah.
the old.
Yeah,
he
gang,
just-
gang,
Yeah.
gang, gang, gang. Right?
Yeah,
Does that sound like it?
It's that little synth, and oh yeah, everyone knows that scream.
That's what's so great. Just two comics trying to describe music. You're
Yeah,
like, you
right.
know that part where
Yeah,
it's like,
it's a
doo,
doot,
doo,
doot,
doo,
yeah.
doo, 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 doo. Whatever that instrument's called, the doot doot.
Yeah.
I had Joe Satriani on a few weeks ago, and like it's like he's breaking down everything, talking about the structure, the chord signature, or whatever.
Oh, too much.
And me-
too
and
much.
me and
yeah.
you were like,
no. Doot, 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 yeah.
I do love this song so much.
Oh yeah, and by the way, because I get confused because it does sound so much like the end, Were they both featured in Apocalypse Now, or was it just this one or one or the
Ooh.
other? But
Marty? Just the end.
the end, okay, because
God, you need to be at every fuck. You need to fact checking me as we go.
there's a similarity to this.
I thought you were about to pull your tooth out for a second. The way you reached at it, I was like,
no, I think I had like a fucking piece of pork chop in my teeth or something.
"You had pork chops for dinner."
No, that's what's weird. How
That
did it
is
get
weird.
there?
See, it's like that movie.
Yeah. But I remember this. I was telling you earlier, back when I was still in Toronto, there was a big nightclub in Toronto called RPM, and they had 80s Tuesdays. And I would go down alone, and I had long hair, and I was trying to kind of do the whole Morrison look. And this is just when I'd finished reading No One Here Gets Out Alive, and this is when I was really falling in love with the Doors
Yeah.
as an adult. And I remember one night I went down and I was dancing around on stage to this song, and I think it was the last song of the night, and I'd had some beers, and I was up there alone, and I didn't care who saw me. And I remember I walked out of the club, and I was a little bit drunk, and it was a summer night, and just like a couple of streets down from the club, there was a train, and I climbed up on the caboose, and I just laid on the roof, and it was like that light summer, like just spitting rain. It's not drops yet. It's just kind of.
It's just it's like a nice
Yeah, and it was like one of those hot, like stifling nights, and I was
hot Toronto nights.
and I'm laying on
my
this
favorite
caboose
Neil
with
Diamond
my,
album.
with my shirt open, and I've got my black cowboy boots on and my black pants, and I was just like I felt like I was Jim Morrison in that night. It was just weird.
The way you described it sounded like you were more Lil Nas X. Like you're
Yeah.
like, I was wearing cowboy boots, I had tassels, and little
No,
doot, doot, doot,
It was
doot,
like
doot.
it's like I didn't own leather pants, so I had black like tight jeans on, and then black like felt cowboy pants or cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Like it's the closest I could get to looking like Morrison. Then I had his hair. I had my hair's curly when it goes long, and so it was just like I was kind of channeling him, and I was laying up there. I laid up there for about 45 minutes just pretending I was him. And then I reached in my bag, I realized my wallet had fallen out when I was jumping around, and I didn't know how to get home. It's such a bummer.
Has anybody found my debit card? Debit card.
When the
Debit
cab ride's over.
So you remember how I said a few songs ago that little part I had played earlier was my favorite moment on the
Yeah.
entire record?
Yeah.
I lied.
I knew it.
Kick it.
What the music is your special friend. Dance on fires in intense.
Ba 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 dee ba doo ba doo. Just now, you sing it.
Till the end.
God,
Yeah.
you got a great voice, dude.
That's what she said.
Yeah. So I love this. I think this is a perfect way to end the record. An 11-minute opus. That's how you do it, man.
Oh, it
An
was
ode
great.
with equal parts ode to music, apocalyptic nightmare, and ecological protest.
Yeah, right.
It's deeper than we
She
think.
ravaged and raped her and put fences on her and all that, or was that the end? Maybe that's. I mixed these two up. That's the only. But they're both epic, long.
It doesn't make. Here's the deal. If
Yeah.
if every song that they did was 10 minutes long and it had this kind of, we were talking about Beethoven
Yeah.
and Mozart movements.
Right.
There are movements in this.
Mhm.
That's why I think this band is different than the shit that's coming out probably at the time. And so far out of the shit that we've listened to on this list, it's like this. You feel like every song is taking you to a time period.
Yeah.
There's a feeling behind it. There's passion behind it.
Those long ding 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 ding. How would you feel if I told you I saw that live?
I would be blown away.
I went to see the Doors live in 2000.
Okay.
All of them there. Jim not there, of course.
Of course.
But Ray and Krieger and Dunsmore, all there at the Kodak Theater on Highland and Hollywood
Oh.
for New Year's Eve.
Oh.
I went by myself. Ian Astbury from The Cult sang. And I went in thinking, okay, I'm not getting the Doors, but I'm getting
You're
the three. I'm
you're
getting the three of them.
close enough.
Just that sound,
Yeah.
to see the organs, to see them playing, to see them all together. And I thought, I'll tolerate Ian Astbury. And then Ian came out and killed it. I was so happy. I knew it wasn't Jim, but Ian did such an incredible job. I walked out.
great.
I already loved Ian because I'd seen the Cult when I was younger, and I love the Cult's music, but he really gave it all he could, and he nailed the songs, and he nailed the energy, and of course, no one can ever replicate Jim. Although Val Kilmer comes close in the Doors movie, I can't believe you haven't seen it.
I've seen parts of it.
Watch the whole
I've
thing.
just,
You'll get sucked in.
I watched the documentary on him, and it was just, you see him as a performer, and it's I don't know, you've done the goddamn Comedy Jam. It's I feel like the idea of controlling the audience and how he was playing this thing, he knew he had them in the palm of his hand. He knew that he could incite a riot.
Who,
if he
Jim?
want- Jim,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
And it's I've after watching a bunch of live performances, I still think that when you say the best frontman of all time is someone like Freddie Mercury because of the voice and he had the control. I think there's something different with Jim Morrison. You're getting a show, man. He's giving you everything. Or he's drunk, peeing himself, and laying on the ground.
Well, don't forget, with Jim, you're also getting possibly one of the most organic versions of rock and roll, in my opinion, okay? It's
explain it. Come on.
Well, even with Queen and even with Zeppelin and all these greats, they all kind of followed a trajectory of writing songs like they all do. But in Jim, with all these other guys, you had writers and singers and performers. But with Jim, I think you started with a guy who was organically just a poet and a musician and a voice. And as opposed to these guys going through life and going, hey, I want to do music, I feel like Jim was this seed that from the beginning grew right into music. That was his path. That was his destiny, because it was just so much more real, because his lyrics are so real. It comes from such a poetic, soulful, musical place. Whereas
you can't fake that.
Yeah,
That's
I don't everyone else is talented, but I don't know if they had that extra layer that he had.
Yeah, completely.
And that's what will make him always be timeless and stand out, because poetry is kind of timeless, and so there's something just so beautifully organic about Jim Morrison.
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. What was the line from that song, which is something? Okay, was it cancel my subscription
to the resurrection?
I mean, that is that hits me,
Yeah.
and I'm not even sure what it means, and I'm
Yeah.
oh my god,
Yeah.
that got me in my giblets. It's
Yeah,
just it's powerful,
Yeah.
and that's the lyric that will stick with me probably for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that those lyrics don't necessarily come from the same place a lot of other lyrics do, where you're sitting in a room or you're sitting with a sketch pad, or you go, hey Jimmy, what do you think about this line? I feel like with Jim, they come from they emerge from the soul, as opposed to just kind of being an idea on paper.
I also could see him standing in a mirror, just beating himself with a cat of nine tails, kind of like the dude from the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Because he's just you're not getting the pain.
Yeah.
Feel it. Subscription. I got to cancel my subscription to Sports Illustrated.
That's
a good line. All right, you want to do some facts and get out of here?
Sure, whatever you want.
Cancel all my facts for my facts and faxy. All right. Was that good? That was a good song, right?
That was great.
Thanks,
yeah.
man.
Who was that?
It was me.
But what were you singing? What?
I was singing the cancel the subscription
Oh.
to the ski but do.
Okay, then maybe it wasn't quite that good, because I didn't have a clue.
It was all right, dude.
Well, what can I?
Yuck your face.
Yuck your twat.
Ooh, goodness gracious me. After the success of Light My Fire from their debut, Buick offered the band a lucrative contract to use in its commercial. It was called Come On Buick, Light My Fire. As Jim was unable to be found, the other three agreed, but when he found out, he flew into a rage and threatened to destroy a Buick on stage. The deal was dropped, but that incident informed the vibe between them starting this record. So that's how they started.
Good, good.
So you have a Trix Got Milk commercial that was
Yeah.
pretty legendary.
Yeah, it was. It won an award. Like, I think there's like an Oscars for the.
The Cleos.
Yeah, it won a Clio.
You want a Clio?
I did a whole. I did commercials for about 3 years when I first got here. I didn't know anything about it, and I think 4 of them. I think I did 5, and I think 4 of them won Clio. I did a Super Bowl.
You're the
commercial.
Daniel Day-Lewis of commercials.
I did a Super Bowl, and I had no idea. I go, yes, so.
What was the Super Bowl commercial?
It was a Budweiser one. It was on safari in Africa, and all of a sudden, like a tree falls across in front of our Land Rover, and so we're stopped, and they had 7 trained chimpanzees, real chimps.
Nice.
An
This is in your
old-
wheelhouse right here.
An old one down to a baby, and they trained them to run up the back of the Land Rover onto the roof, the big one first. He opened the cooler, and they started handing the beers down in a chain to the baby.
Real chimpanzees.
Real chimps. It was bizarre.
Are they SAG? They're after.
I think they're after it.
they're
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. But anyways, the Trix commercial? What about it?
So wait, but have you turned down any commercials? Was there any commercials that you've been like, I'm not doing that?
No, because I stopped doing them. I started getting lucky with other like TV and movies, and I just thought I don't want to do
I
commercials
really feel
anymore.
like you should be selling shit, dude. I really feel like that's your vibe, bro.
What should I sell?
I don't know. What was the weirdest?
Fishing lures.
What was the weirdest commercial you've ever done?
the weirdest? It could have been the one you're about to talk about. The Trix one.
Tell me about it.
Well, basically, the commercials all through the 60s, 70s, and 80s was about the Trix rabbit, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And he always wanted to steal the Trix, but he could never steal them, right? And so the commercial is me as Harland going into a variety store, and I buy a whole bunch of boxes of Trix. And I run home, and I'm looking around, and I lock my apartment. I have like 8 locks on my apartment, and I lock in. I get a bowl, and I get a thing of milk from the fridge, and I finally got the Trix, right? And I'm just about to pour them, and I unzip my face.
And you're the rabbit?
And the Trix, an animated version of the Trix rabbit comes out, and I go, finally, after all these years, Trix are for kids. Finally, and he pours the Trix. And he's about to pour the milk and drink them, and his milk's got 1 drop comes out, and he goes, ah! And it goes, got milk?
Ooh.
Yeah. And so,
And you won a Clio for that.
well, the commercial won a Clio. I didn't
You
win
don't
it.
have any. You don't have the actual.
No,
award.
the people who did the commercial, but the commercial won it. I didn't win it for being in.
Did you guys have like a celebration?
No,
dinner?
so this was back in the early days of CGI animation and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? Because this was like in the early
Oh,
90s.
so the zipping was just that was like Terminator 2 with like the morphing.
It was kind of before that even.
Yeah, I
So-
know, but I'm saying the same way.
Yeah,
that
it was
Terminator
kind of
2,
like so what they had to do is like nowadays they can just shoot you and go off and do it all in post.
Yeah.
But then for the commercial they said, okay, because of this new animation technique, your head can't move. So what they did, they built a brace, and I had to rest my head in this brace all day, and I couldn't move, and my head was in, and all these like lights, and they're filming my face, and I never get headaches. I've had about 12 in my whole life.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, on that day,
Splitting
I probably
migraine.
had the worst I've ever had, and it was the precursor to a flu. So as the day started, like the first hour I was fine, and then I slowly got and then I was just in this thing, like just the last 4 hours, I
Oh,
was
can
just,
imagine.
I wanted to curl up and die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck the Trix, fuck the rabbit. But the commercial came out great.
How much do you make a lot of money off it? Because commercials, people, if you don't know, if you book a commercial, you can buy a house.
Yeah, I think I did pretty good on it, So
Nice, dude.
yeah.
All right. Backstage before a gig on December 9th, 1967 at the New Haven Arena in Connecticut, Morrison was making out with a female fan in a shower stall. A cop came in and told her to leave, and after Morrison had words with him, the cop maced Morrison and the girl. After an hour delay to get Jim ready to play, he took the stage and was soon telling the audience what happened. He then became the first musician to be arrested and dragged off stage during a show.
Yeah, that's that famous footage. That's if you watch the Doors movie, that scene's very memorable.
No, I
in
think
the
that was in the
movie.
documentary that I saw as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, it's. I think that's what started Jim too. Like it seemed like that's what started the snowball of him really resenting the authorities
Yeah.
and police being at his shows, and I think that eventually led to the whole rioting thing. And
Yeah.
you know, it really kind of left a bad taste in his mouth.
Could you imagine getting maced and then going on stage?
Well, you got to figure too, he was probably in the throes of passion, so he might have possibly had, you know, an
Could you imagine
erection.
Can you imagine like being like
Maced with an erection?
with an
the
erection?
shit you'd walk
'Cause you
into?
just like, yeah,
Wow.
dude, your hands are
Like,
out, your schmeckles flying around.
I mean, dude, you could walk into a cement mixer. Like, what if you go outside and there's a cement mixer parked and
then
you
you
bang
get-
into it with an erection?
And then it covers you in cement, and then you're like,
and then it
"Ah."
hardens.
As hardens.
So now you're like a statue with a heart on, standing in the
You
middle
know,
of the
then
street.
why weren't there ever statues with erections like the way they did like Michelangelo's David?
Yeah.
How much better David would have
David
been?
would have been better with an erection for
Yeah.
sure. People would have. They probably would have sold more tickets.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that? There was one of the Naked Gun movies where Drebin's outside of a building on a window ledge, and there's these gargoyles with big penises.
Oh yeah.
And he's falling and he grabs one and he flies through the window and he's got it in his hand and this lady's screaming. Hilarious.
All right. Where was I? All right. During one of their shows in late December of '67 at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco, the band stopped the concert to wheel out a television on stage to watch the broadcast of one of their tape performances on the Jonathan Winters Show.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Weird.
Where were you the first time you saw yourself on television?
Oh, good question. The first time I saw myself on television? I think it was maybe in Toronto. I got a gig doing a cheesy, like, kind of local cable TV show called like Date Game or something. It was like a dating show where people would go on dates, and then they had like 4 or 5 like funny people that would comment on the couple. And I think that was the first time I saw myself on TV. It was really cheesy and stupid, and yeah. It's just me being a smartass, going, "Oh, look at that guy's hair. Who would go out with that guy?" You know, like that type of stuff.
So were you one of the guys trying to date one of the
No,
girls?
I was one of the
commenters.
The commenters, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was like, it was pretty lame. But I was excited because it was like my first. I'm like, "Oh, I'm on TV."
Did you gather people around?
No, because it was so lame. It was the only time I was really proud, like when I really was on TV, where I wanted people to see it, was my first time doing the David Letterman show, and that because that was a big.
Oh, that's huge.
That
yeah.
was a monumental.
So what did you do for that?
That I just kind of let people know, and then they start, all my friends and associates and people, you know, back then when you did Letterman or The Tonight Show, it was a huge deal. Like it, nowadays it doesn't even matter, sadly. I feel bad for comics nowadays because it doesn't mean anything. But back when I did it, it was huge.
Yeah,
it was
the
like,
biggest thing.
and so when I did it, it's like, you know, all the guys I started in Toronto with, like that I started at the stand-up club, like, because that was every comic's goal, you know,
To get on Letterman, yeah.
to get on Letterman. Originally it was Carson, but then when he went, it was Letterman was the next king of late night for everyone.
For everyone, yeah.
And so, you know, all the guys in Toronto and all my friends from college and high school and family, like, you know, it's one of those things everybody knows because there was still only 2 talk shows. It was the Tonight Show and Letterman back then, you know. So anyways, that was when I really was excited for people to see me. I just hoped that I didn't bomb,
Yeah.
which I didn't. I had a great set, so that made it even more glorious. So
So you talk about the first time you saw yourself on television. back in like 1999, my cousin worked for the Whoopi Goldberg show. No,
Oh,
not
yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg, the Queen Latifah show.
Okay.
And he calls me. He's like, "Listen, man." He's like, "Can you come up to New York? I need somebody just to be in the audience.
Oh, God.
That we're gonna be asking about. You have to ask Whoopi a question. She's the guest, Whoopi Goldberg, and you have to ask her a question about like why do you think they're gonna say something basically about how women care too much about the way that they look." And they're trying to, I guess, talk to Whoopi about it, and they wanted me to be in the audience to say like, listen, when I know I don't look at women that way, you know, it's like I want personality and this, like, looks are cool, but it's like it's all about the personality.
Right.
So they're staging me.
Oh, God.
And so I take the train up to New York. The day of the shoot comes. I'm in the audience. This one girl says something about her looks, and then they're like, "Is there any guys in here that you know that feel differently about that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And first thing I said is like, "Whoopi, I loved you in Jumpin' Jack Flash." I get this huge laugh, and then I say my spiel, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So a month later, the show's gonna come out, and dude, I get like 30 of my
Oh, no.
friends. I'm like 19 years old. We
Right.
all go to my parents'
Oh,
basement.
no, they cut it.
We're getting hot. Yeah, they
Oh.
cut it, dude.
I knew where this was going.
You knew it right
yeah.
away. Yeah, because the story wasn't that good, so you knew.
No,
that
no, it's a
pretty-
great story, but I knew as soon as you said I got 30 people together,
like
that you were
dude,
cut.
Not even
Yeah.
like you only saw me in the audience, like just like a flash. But dude, it was such a buzzkill. We were
Yeah.
taping it on VHS,
Oh,
everything. Yeah, it was an awkward
Yeah, that's-
smoke
that's
sesh after
rough.
that.
That's rough. Yeah.
All right, two more facts. Before the summer, he founded the Doors. Jim Morrison had been living on canned beans and LSD for several months.
Wow.
I just love that.
Those farts must have been magical. Like he probably farted dragons.
Dude, I could see your farts' energy.
Yeah.
Mate, are farts really just food ghosts?
Dude, is your fart knitting me a poncho?
Wait here, dude. It's the ghost of pepperoni past.
Dude, that fart looks like a herd of gazelle, bro.
All right, last fact. After the success of their debut Elektra Records, let me take the whole thing again, because after the success of their debut, Elektra Records founder Jack Holtzman gave each
Sold
member
all his records to a fish farm. No, go ahead.
called the Tech Nine. Remember anything that he said? All right, listen. So basically, the founder of Elektra Records said to each member he could give them anything that they wanted. Manzarek and Krieger got tape machines. Densmore got a horse, and Morrison wanted a Shelby Mustang GT350 like his friend, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sigbring. Holtzman got Morrison a brand new Night Mist Blue 1967 Shelby GT500 that he called the Blue Lady. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, and Jim didn't want to be a rock and roll star.
Yeah, no.
I don't want any fame. I don't, that's what I mean. Like that stuff's all part of it, like that's that. I think Jim was smart enough to know that
I think he's playing it.
he's playing it, and that's that he knows it's a legend. But then I think he was smart enough to go, rock and roll and youth probably have a shelf life, so I'll kind of create this next incarnation of myself while I'm still in this one, so that I can, perpetuate my mystical status. You know what I mean? I think he was smart enough to maybe figure that out, where I think a lot of them maybe weren't that perceptive about it or something.
I feel like the other three, I'm not going to call them squares, but just like Jim, if you put the band members all together, like Jim sticks the fuck out, dude.
It's like Guns N' Roses, they're all rock and roll animals.
Yeah, dude.
Zeppelin, they're all rock and roll
animals.
But with the Doors, it was like three nerds and a rock star,
Yeah, I'm
For
Ray
sure.
Manzarek.
Yeah, well, just the fact that he played like if you think about it, that was a kind of a clunky, weird, noisy instrument, that whole organ vibe. And I without Jim's perfect voice to complement, I don't know if any other singer could have.
Oh no, this band doesn't work if they don't
could
have
have
Jim
worked
Morrison.
with that because no one else to this day uses it. It's like a bad church organ that went through a flood. And
Was it a harpsichord?
No, it was like,
It's like
a Moog, and that he had a few, but it feels like they took a hairdryer and blew off an old church organ that was in a flood or something. And, like, it's not a great rock. Like, when you think rock and roll, you don't think, fucking organ, really,
It's like when Metallica did the full symphony. And I'm just like, it's like you're already metal, dude. Adding a piccolo is not going to make you that rip harder.
Right.
You know, it's
and to do it back then when rock and roll was being born, when it was emerging, you know, like that was another thing when I was a kid. The organ just seemed so misplaced. But, you know, isn't it interesting that now it's what really still to this day defines them? Because, you know, everyone else, you know, Led Zeppelin and, you know, they had great guitar, but so did Guns N' Roses. But you show me a band even today that has that organ sound, there's nobody.
Yeah.
So they stand alone
They
because of that.
They didn't even have a bass player.
No.
Like you have Manzarek playing that like on the keyboard. He
That's
started
right.
And that's just like bass is like
He was the bass player.
That's the thump, dude.
Yeah.
Who you winking at?
The photographer. Somebody's taking pictures of me.
So I want to ask you this: what was the most extravagant thing you bought when you finally got some money?
Oh man, I bought. I don't even know if I should say it. I don't want to but I bought. I had enough money to, you know. There was a time when I made some really good money, and I had enough money to pay.
What was the first big payday? First big, was it the commercials or was it like, was it Half Baked or?
No, my first really big payday, I did a movie for Disney called Rocket Man.
Oh, I love Rocket Man, dude.
And that was when I was on the hot sheet. You know, I'd done a few other smaller movies.
I remember
and,
when, dude, you still are, but I mean, you were like,
well, not so much anymore. But I had my moment where I was the guy and everyone was throwing movies at me and big money for the movies, which was great. And it wasn't even so much the money. I say to my friends when I reminisce about it, I go, it was just neat that for maybe 3 or 4 years, I was kind of in that A-list zone where they were chasing me and I was getting these great offers. And I go, even though only a couple of the movies ever came to fruition, which when I really look back now, go, man, if you get anything made, it's a miracle. So I feel blessed that
for sure.
But just that I had that little moment in time to experience it. And again, Rocket Man happened during a time kind of like the Letterman thing, when if you got asked to star in a movie, you were kind of treated like a movie star. Like everything was big. They took care. They fussed about. Everyone jumped around. Nowadays, when you get a movie, even like 6 years after I did Rocket Man, it's like, yeah, you're in a movie. We're gonna fly you to thing and coach. We're not gonna pay you what we used to. Like everything kind of changed really fast. But I think Rocket Man just got in under the wire when you were still like treated like pretty cool. So my point is, just to have those few years where I was in that zone was quite fascinating and fun, and I feel blessed and honored that I was there. But to answer your question, the one extravagant thing I bought, I was able to pay to have Jim Morrison's body exhumed, and okay, well, if you don't want to hear the story.
Oh no, but Joe, keep going, please.
Okay, so he's in my living room.
Now
in a chair, I had him glazed with olive oil, and he just stares at me. And that's why I was so prepped for this. You could tell I was prepped for this podcast.
I want to come over and glaze him.
You want to sit with him and smoke a doob?
Oh my God, glaze him?
Yeah,
glaze a human being.
Well, he's already glazed, but if you want to come, I can move him. He's still pliable. Because the glaze made him kind of bendy, you know. He's like a Gumby. And I move him around, and he's a blast.
I bet, man.
He's a blast. Not as energetic as he used to be, but just great to have around the house, especially during COVID when everyone's so lonely.
Oh my God! If you could have anybody with you, could you imagine being quarantined with Jim Morrison?
Well, no, I don't have to imagine.
It's like
I am.
It's like, dude. I know you're writing poetry, but can you please just buy some paper towels?
Yeah,
because
right.
you know that he doesn't buy paper towels. What was really the most extravagant thing?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I guess maybe my house. I was able to.
That's not extravagant, but it's when you have a big house. You have a big house.
No, I don't have a big house, but it was just the fact that I could buy a house was to me as a. Got to remember, I was a kid out of the suburbs of Toronto that came down here from Canada. Like I was on my last like $2,000 that I owned. I came to LA and said, you know what, I'm taking everything I have. I'm gonna burn through it and until I got nothing left, and I'm going back to Canada. And I was literally down to my last like few grand, and I could see the end coming. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to hit the wall and have to leave, and I wouldn't have been able to come back because I spent everything.
Yeah.
And just God be willing, like things started to happen, and just as I was starting to run out of money, and so the concept that I was able to eventually buy my own house, and
It's
it was
it's mind blowing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, are you talking like kind of an exotic?
I don't know. It's
I,
like, you know,
I think okay,
like
the
a boat.
most exotic thing I did, where I had a little money, and it was probably one of the highlights of my life. One day in this house that I bought, this was probably about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I went down to my mailbox, and as always, there's junk mail. And I'm looking through there's the thing for the furniture, there's the thing for the paver stones, there's the thing for new granite counters in your kitchen, and I'm just chucking them in the garbage. And I see this one, it's got the National Geographic logo on. It's a pamphlet,
Yeah.
and I'm reading it. It goes, "Fly around the world in a private jet." And I was, my hand was just about letting it go. And the National Geographic logo, I kind of went, there's not a lot of brand names left in the world that are kind of classy still, like
Yeah. And they are.
they are. So, and then even more so. Now it's kind of watered, but so I kind of pulled it back, and I looked at this pamphlet, and I said, well, let me open it. Like, I was kind of intrigued. Fly around the world on a so I opened it, and inside there was a map of the world, and there was like, how in the movies when they show like a plane go dot 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 dot
Yeah,
dot
yeah,
dot
yeah.
over to. So National Geographic had done this thing where you start in Washington, go to South America, Machu Picchu, Easter Island, the Taj Mahal in India, the Great Barrier Reef, the pyramids, Easter Island, like all over the world, the Taj Mahal in India, riding elephants in Nepal. Like I was like, wait, what? And then I flipped it over, and I think this was new. I think it was the first time they were trying it. And it said private jet, all first class seats, only 70 seats, chef on board the plane, $39,000. And to me, that was huge, right? And it is.
Sponsored by Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, right. Yeah, on
Airlines.
Pedo Island. But then I started doing the calculations, and I went, well, if I were just to take a first class ticket to Hong Kong, it'd probably be 10 grand.
Yeah.
But then I went, wait, there's like 14 different, and it really is. It's going all like New Zealand, Tahiti, like like it went all over the freaking world. And I was like, wait a minute. And so I kind of phoned them, and I said, well, let me just see if this is real. And it was real, and it was one of those things that was beyond even what I expect. Like, the stuff they had on paper was all true,
Yeah.
but then they added all these bells and whistles along the way that made it even more. It was one of those rare things in life where I was like, wow, this. And so I went around the world in like 30 days to all these places. We spent 3 days in each place.
Just you solo?
No, there was like 70
Well,
of
no,
us.
I know, but you.
I went alone.
You went alone.
My cousin was supposed to come, but he ended up having to work, and he had to cancel. So he was supposed to come with me. So I ended up doing it alone. And sometimes it's almost better to do stuff alone. Like,
Yeah.
I wish he was there because it was a great experience.
And you would have had the memories and had your own
But there was
inside
something
jokes.
about being on my own, because then you're not checking in with anyone. You just like, I'm going to walk over there to that weird temple, and you don't have to ask anyone. And so it was one of the highlights of my life.
Dude,
So,
you went on a vision quest.
yeah, and that was one of the most extravagant things. And now they're still doing it. But now when I see the pamphlet, it's like 170 grand. So
Yeah.
I think this was like the first year, and they didn't really know if people were going to do it or not. So I think I got in when it was the cheapest, and probably they did the most because they're like, well, we got to make this really good. But now I have a feeling it's probably way more with
my
way less bells and whistles.
God,
So
yeah.
I fluked out, and it was extravagant.
Good for
and
you, man.
Yeah, that was the one time where I was like, I can't spend this money to
no,
do this.
You got, that's,
But then I go,
Yeah.
when am I ever going to get the time to travel to all these places? If I do, can I do it first class? If I do, is someone going to be there to handle all the logistics, the luggage, the passports, the this, the that, the meals, the the day trips that like they did it all.
And they took you right to the thing. They're like, there it is. Go ahead and walk around. And
We'd land at special airports because like instead of going into main airports, we'd land at like military airports, so we didn't have to do all the stuff. And it was and the stuff I saw. I mean, I was riding around on elephants through the jungle looking for tigers. I was swimming in the Barrier Reef. I was climbing up the statues at Easter Island. I was running around the Taj Mahal. It's just crazy.
they're just
Crazy.
letting you in. Like, you want to hold that panda?
Yeah.
That little baby panda?
Yeah.
You want to take it with you?
Oh,
Like,
sweet.
we just want people to come back next year.
Yeah, sweet.
Wow.
Love them.
So to everybody out there, because I did it, I went to Europe when I was 18 years old. I backpacked for 7 months with my buddy.
Isn't that great?
And-
Good for you.
And before COVID, I was supposed to go to India in September.
oh,
Like, I was going to
no.
go. That was my whole thing. I was like, I'm going to go on a vision quest to
Oh.
India. I'm still going to do it
Good. Do
when
it.
this all opens back up.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love that. This was so great, dude.
Dude, what a treat.
So tell everybody where they can find you, promote whatever you got to promote. brother.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I have a thing called patreon.com where it's like a little site where you can view all my own like videos and short movies that I make and songs and short stories that I write. It's kind of, I call it the imagination station, and it's where I kind of dump all my creativity.
I love that.
And people can go on and join. I have a little series I've been shooting called Two Guys in Their Underpants. It's these two little dolls that they're like Ken dolls, and I film them all over the world. And wherever I travel, I take them and I shoot little adventures with them. So
Nice.
they've been to the St. Louis Arch. They've been to Burning Man. They've been to Saudi Arabia. I threw them over Niagara Falls. Like
Nice.
they've been everywhere. So it's really crazy comedy. So you can check that out. It's patreon.com/Harland Williams. I have my Instagram where I always
What's your
put
handle?
Harland Williams.
Harland Williams.
And same with Twitter. And I'm not one of these guys. I don't put up a lot of like topical, political. I just put up stuff to make people laugh. So stupid jokes, little funny videos. So if you want to follow that, go for it. And then I have harlandwilliams.com as my website. So
Follow Harlan. Join his Patreon. You're one of the funniest people I know. I
Thanks,
love you
dude.
so much.
thanks, brother.
I'm Josh Adam Meyers. Follow me at Josh Adam Meyers. Follow the 500 at the 500 Podcast. And go to the 500podcast.com for all 500 shit. Thank you so much, buddy.
Dude,
This
what
was-
a
this
pleasure.
was so
And
much-
I'll see you through the next door.
Do. What's that called again?
We don't know how to sing.
Do. Yuck your face.
Yuck your fishing lure.
Yuck your twat.
Finally.
Thanks, guys. That was great.
We got some clappings. We got some clappings out there.